The Mercy Protocol. The vast expanse of space stretched before the UNHS Haven like an endless ocean of stars. Captain Sarah Chen stood at her command station, her weathered hands resting on the polished surface of her console as she studied the distress beacon's signature. 20 years of commanding Earth's most advanced medical vessel had taught her to read between the lines of such signals, to sense the desperation encoded in their rhythmic pulses. "Analysis, Lieutenant Walsh?" she asked, her eyes not leaving the holographic display. The ship's sensor officer, a young man with cybernetic sensory enhancements that glowed softly in the dim bridge lighting, worked his controls with practiced efficiency. "The signal's unlike anything in our database, Captain, but the underlying pattern matches universal distress protocols. Whatever's sending it, they're in serious trouble." Life signs. Massive readings, but Walsh hesitated, his augmented eyes flickering as they processed the data. "The biochemistry is completely unknown. We're looking at a first contact scenario." Captain Chen straightened, her decision already made. In the century since humanity had reached the stars, they had established one unwavering principle: those who heal must go where they are needed, regardless of species, allegiance, or origin. The Haven's mission embodied that principle in every aspect of its design, from its massive medical bays to the advanced translation matrices that allowed its staff to communicate with any known species. Alert Medical Bay 1. Dr. Patel needs to prepare for unknown xenobiology. Engineering. Bring the medical stasis fields to full power. Communications. Broadcast standard first contact package alpha on all frequencies. The bridge crew moved with practiced precision, their actions honed by countless emergency responses. The Haven's massive hull, painted the pristine white of all Earth medical vessels, began to turn toward the source of the distress call. In Medical Bay 1, Dr. Aisha Patel watched as her team prepared for the unknown. The vast chamber, capable of treating thousands of patients simultaneously, hummed with activity. Medical robots adjusted their configurations based on the incoming sensor data, while her human staff checked emergency supplies and calibrated diagnostic equipment. "Remember," she addressed her team, her voice carrying the authority of someone who had treated more alien species than most people had ever seen, "we work with what we know first. Basic medical principles apply across all known life forms. Start with preserving life functions, then adapt as we learn." The Haven's engines thrummed as the massive ship accelerated, its quantum wake drive pushing it to speeds that would have seemed impossible just decades ago. On the bridge, Captain Chen received the first visual data from their destination. The sight made her breath catch. A massive vessel, organic in appearance with crystalline growths sprouting from its hull, drifted in space. Portions of its structure pulsed with a weak bioluminescence that spoke of failing life support systems. Around it, smaller creatures that appeared to be escape pods floundered in space, their movements becoming increasingly erratic. "Multiple hull breaches detected," Walsh reported. "Their life support is critically damaged. Reading approximately 3,000 life signs, all deteriorating." Chen activated the ship-wide comm. "All hands, this is the captain. We have a mass casualty situation with an unknown species. Initiate Mercy Protocol Alpha. This is not a drill." Throughout the Haven, crews that had trained together for years sprang into action. The ship's massive medical hangars opened, their force field containment systems allowing small rescue craft to launch while maintaining perfect atmospheric integrity. Each rescue vessel was essentially a flying emergency room, capable of stabilizing patients before transport to the main medical bays. As the Haven approached the stricken vessel, its powerful sensors revealed more details about the crisis. The alien ship appeared to have suffered a catastrophic failure of its primary systems, though the cause wasn't immediately apparent. What was clear was that without immediate intervention, there would be no survivors. "Captain," Walsh's voice carried an edge of urgency, "I'm detecting energy signatures consistent with weapons fire. This wasn't an accident. Someone attacked them." Chen's expression hardened. Tactical, full sensor sweep of the surrounding space. Activate defensive screens but keep weapons powered down. We're here to save lives, not take them. The rescue operation began with practiced efficiency. The Haven's medical teams, protected by the latest in environmental suits, boarded the dying alien vessel. They encountered beings unlike anything in Earth's medical database. Crystalline entities that seemed to be a hybrid of mineral and organic life, their bodies glowing with internal energy that was slowly fading. Dr. Patel, leading the first response team, quickly established that while the aliens' biology was unique, their need for help was universal. They're dying, she reported back to the Haven. Their bodies appear to use some form of crystalline matrix to store energy, and those systems are failing. We need to get them into stasis immediately. The next hours were a blur of constant activity as the Haven's crews worked tirelessly to evacuate the alien vessel. The ship's massive medical bays, filled with the crystalline beings, each one carefully placed in stasis fields modified on the fly to accommodate their unique biology. Just as the last survivors were being brought aboard, Walsh's warning cut through the controlled chaos of the rescue operation. Captain, multiple ships dropping out of FTL. They're running hot. Weapons charge. 3 predatory vessels materialize from hyperspace, their hull designs marking them as belonging to the notorious Shadowcrest raiders, pirates who preyed on vulnerable ships in the outer territories. Their weapons were already tracking the Haven. "This is Captain Chen of the UNHS Haven," she broadcast, her voice steady. "We are a medical vessel conducting emergency operations under International Space Convention 147. Stand down immediately." The raiders' response came in the form of weapons fire, a warning shot that passed close enough to make the Haven's shields flare. Chen's expression didn't change, but her voice carried steel when she spoke again. "Lieutenant Walsh, send emergency signal Alpha to Earth Command, and open a channel to our new friends in Medical Bay 3. In the medical bay, one of the crystalline beings had regained consciousness and was now watching in confusion as the humans worked to save its people. Dr. Patil approached it, her universal translator working to establish communication. "Your people attacked us," the alien managed to convey. "Why do you now risk yourselves to save us?" Before Pavel could respond, the deck trembled as another warning shot from the raiders struck their shields. But then, space itself seemed to tear open as 3 massive Earth warships emerged from hyperspace, their weapon systems already tracking the raiders. "Because," Pavel replied, watching as the Earth vessels moved to protect the Haven. "Humanity learned long ago that those who heal must be protected. And we take that responsibility very seriously." The raiders, suddenly facing ships that outgunned them by orders of magnitude, quickly retreated. As they fled, the crystalline being watched in wonder as its people continued to receive treatment, protected by the very species they had attacked. "We did not know," it communicated. "We thought all species fought only for themselves." Captain Chen, receiving this exchange through ship's communications, allowed herself a small smile. "That's why we're out here," she replied. "To show that there's another way. The Haven will remain until your people are stable, and then we'll help you rebuild. That's the Mercy Protocol. We help first, ask questions later." As the Earth warships maintained their protective formation around the Haven, its medical teams continued their work, demonstrating that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in its weapons or technology, but in its unwavering commitment to preserve life in all its forms. Lines in the stars. 3 months after the rescue of the crystalline beings, now known as the Lumini, the UNHS Haven found itself navigating an increasingly complex political situation. The massive hospital ship drifted in the neutral space between 2 powerful civilizations, the Veil Collective, a society of energy beings who existed partially out of phase with normal space, and the Sunforge Empire, a species of plasma-based life forms who had mastered stellar engineering. Captain Chen studied the tactical display in her ready room, where the borders between the 2 civilizations were marked in angry red lines. The Lumini incident had revealed something troubling. Both the Veil Collective and Sunforge Empire had been aware of the crystalline species, but had chosen not to intervene when they were attacked. Their war has lasted 3 centuries. Commander Rodriguez, the Haven's tactical officer, explained as he highlighted various conflict zones. But in the last 6 months, something's changed. The battles are getting more desperate, more brutal. Dr. Patel, joining them via holographic projection from Medical Bay 2, added her perspective. We're seeing it in the casualties. Both sides are using weapons designed to inflict maximum suffering rather than quick kills. It's like they're trying to overwhelm medical response capabilities deliberately. Before Chen could respond, Lieutenant Walsh's voice came through the intercom. Captain to the bridge. Emergency distress calls from both sides of the border. Multiple mass casualty events. When Chen reached the bridge, the tactical display told a grim story. 3 Sunforge colony worlds and 2 Veil Collective bases had been hit simultaneously. Both sides were already blaming each other, but something about the pattern nagged at Chen's tactical instincts. These attacks, she mused, studying the data. They're too precise, too coordinated. Someone wants this war to escalate. She straightened in her command chair. Plot a course to the nearest incident site. Alert all medical bays to prepare for mass casualties. As the Haven approached the first attack site, a Sunforge colony world where a stellar engineering facility had been sabotaged, they received their first challenge. A Sunforge battlecruiser, its hull glowing with contained plasma, moved to intercept them. Earth vessel. The transmission crackled with barely contained fury. This is Commander Helios of the Sunforge Empire. These attacks bear the energy signature of Veil weapons. Any aid to our enemies will be considered an act of war. Before Chen could respond, another ship phased into normal space. A Veil Collective dreadnought, its partially transparent hull revealing the swirling energy beings within. This is Overseer Nexus of the Veil Collective. We have proof these attacks were orchestrated by Sunforge saboteurs. Choose your side carefully, humans. Chen's response was immediate and firm. This is Captain Chen of the UNHS Haven. We are a medical vessel operating under Earth's Mercy Protocol. We do not choose sides. We save lives. Any attempt to interfere with our medical mission will be met with the full response of Earth's defense fleet. In Medical Bay 1, Dr. Patel watched the exchange while preparing her teams. The bay was already configured with specialized containment fields, some designed to hold plasma-based life forms at precise temperatures, others tuned to the unique phase frequencies of Veil beings. They're testing us, she commented to her chief nurse, Maya Santos. Both sides want to force us to declare allegiance. Santos checked the calibration on a phase-shifted medical scanner. They don't understand us very well, do they? They're about to learn, Paddle replied as the first casualties began arriving. The next 48 hours tested the Haven's crew to their limits. The ship moved between attack sites, taking on casualties from both sides. In one bay, medical teams worked to stabilize Sunforge civilians whose plasma containment had been breached. In another, specialists treated Veil beings whose phase synchronization had been disrupted by experimental weapons. The Haven's neutrality was tested repeatedly. Both sides sent diplomatic envoys, offering preferential trade agreements and military support in exchange for exclusive medical services. Both sides also made threats, suggesting that continuing to treat the enemy would have consequences. Captain Chen's response never wavered. When a Sunforge admiral demanded she turn away Veil casualties, she invited him to observe their medical bays. When a Veil diplomatic delegation suggested that treating Sunforge patients was prolonging the war, she showed them children from both sides recovering together. Your weapons may be different, she told both delegations, but your wounds bleed the same. In our medical bays, we see no enemies. We see only patients. The turning point came when the Haven's medical teams made a discovery. Dr. Patel, analyzing wound patterns from both sides, noticed something that had been overlooked in the chaos of the attacks. Captain, she reported, her hologram appearing on the bridge. These weapons' signatures, they're not Sunforge or Veil technology. The energy patterns are completely different. Someone is using sophisticated mimicry technology to make each side blame the other. Chen shared this information with both the Sunforge and Veil commands, along with detailed medical analysis, proving that the attacks had been orchestrated by a third party. The evidence was irrefutable, and it led to an unprecedented moment. Representatives from both civilizations met aboard the Haven, in a conference room overlooking the medical bays where their people were being treated side by side. Your neutrality, Overseer Nexus acknowledged, their energy form flickering with what the translators identified as respect, has revealed a truth we might never have discovered otherwise. Commander Helios, his plasma form carefully contained within a diplomatic environment suit, added, perhaps there is wisdom in this human approach of healing without judgment. As the two civilizations began tentative peace talks aboard the Haven, Captain Chen received a priority communication from Earth Command. More hospital ships were being dispatched to the region, not just from Earth but from other human colonies as well. The message was clear. Humanity's commitment to healing knew no borders. The lines they draw between stars, Chen remarked to Dr. Patel as they watched Sunforge and Veil medical personnel beginning joint training sessions, mean nothing when compared to the lines we'll cross to save lives. In the medical bays below, human doctors continued their work, treating all who needed help, drawing their own lines, not to separate, but to unite. The Haven had done more than save lives. It had shown two ancient enemies that there was strength in mercy, power in healing, and hope in setting aside differences for the greater good of all. The price of compassion. The message that arrived at the Haven's communication array was encoded with the highest level of Earth Command encryption. Captain Chen read it in her ready room, her expression growing darker with each line. Across human space, hospital ships were being targeted with increasing frequency. The attacks were precise, professional, and clearly coordinated. 15 medical vessels attacked in the past month. She briefed her senior staff, the holographic display showing the locations of each incident. No casualties yet, but the pattern is escalating. Someone is testing our defenses, learning our response protocols. Dr. Patel, who had been analyzing medical data from the attacked vessels, highlighted a disturbing trend. They're specifically targeting ships that treat multiple species. The more diverse the patient population, the more likely the ship is to be attacked. Commander Rodriguez pulled up tactical analysis of the attacks. The weapons' signatures are sophisticated, way beyond normal pirate capabilities. They're using technology that can adapt to different shield configurations in real time. That matches what we've seen in the Sunforge Veil conflict, Lieutenant Walsh added, his cybernetic eyes processing the data streams. Whoever's behind this has access to extremely advanced mimicry technology. Before they could discuss further, the Haven's threat detection systems activated. 3 vessels had just dropped out of FTL, their signatures matching those from previous attacks on medical ships. But this time, something was different. They're not trying to hide, Walsh reported, his voice tense. They want us to see them coming. Chen's decision was immediate. Alert Earth Command. Begin emergency patient evacuation protocols. Security teams to all medical bays. She turned to Dr. Patel's hologram. Doctor, how many patients do we currently have aboard? Over 2,000, Patel replied, including critical cases from both the Sunforge Empire and Veil Collective. Many can't be moved. The attacking ships broadcast their message on all frequencies. The voice was artificially modulated, impossible to trace. UNH's Haven, you harbor enemies of peace. Your misguided policy of treating all species equally undermines the natural order. Surrender your non-human patients, and you will be spared. Chen's response was transmitted with equal clarity. This is Captain Chen. We are a medical vessel operating under Earth's Mercy Protocol and International Space Convention 147. We do not distinguish between species. We do not surrender patients. Your demands are rejected. The enemy ships began their approach, But they had made a crucial mistake. In forcing the Haven to broadcast an emergency signal, they had revealed their position to every Earth vessel in the sector. Multiple FTL signatures appeared as Earth warships responded to the distress call. But the attackers had anticipated this. As Earth's vessels arrived, dozens more enemy ships dropped out of FTL, revealing that the initial attack force had been a lure. The Haven found itself in the middle of what was rapidly becoming a major fleet engagement. In Medical Bay 3, Dr. Patil worked to stabilize a group of critical Sunforge patients when the first impacts rocked the ship. The Haven's medical bays were designed with multiple redundant systems and independent shield generators, but the attacks were precisely targeted, probing for weaknesses. A Veil Collective diplomatic observer, watching the human medical team work under fire, asked the question that many were thinking. Why risk so much? These patients are not your people. Patil's response came as she adjusted a plasma containment field, keeping a Sunforged child stable despite the ship's shuddering. That's where you're wrong. The moment they came into our care, they became our responsibility. On Earth, we have an ancient oath. First, do no harm. But we believe that standing by while harm is done is just as bad as causing it ourselves. On the bridge, Chen coordinated with the Earth Fleet commanders. The enemy forces were revealing themselves to be highly organized and well-equipped, suggesting state-level backing rather than mere pirates or terrorists. Captain, Walsh called out, his cybernetic systems processing sensor data. I'm detecting quantum entanglement signatures in their communication systems. They're similar to the ones we found analyzing the attacks on the Sunforge and Veil colonies. Chen's suspicion was confirmed. They're the ones who've been prolonging the war, trying to keep potential rivals fighting each other. She opened a channel to all Earth vessels. This isn't just about protecting one hospital ship. This is about defending the principle of medical neutrality itself. The battle that followed would later be known as the Haven Defense, a turning point in human space. Earth's warships, fighting to protect a vessel of healing, demonstrated why humanity's military power was not to be underestimated. But more importantly, they showed why that power was tempered by compassion. As the battle raged, the Haven continued its work. In medical bays across the ship, human doctors and nurses treated the wounded from all sides, including enemy combatants from damaged attacking vessels. When one of the enemy ships suffered a catastrophic reactor breach, the Haven's medical teams launched rescue operations without hesitation. The tide turned when additional reinforcements arrived, not just Earth vessels, but ships from the Sunforge Empire and Veil Collective as well. The two former enemies, their recent peace talks aboard the Haven having opened diplomatic channels, had chosen to stand with humanity in defending medical neutrality. The enemy fleet, facing unified opposition from three of the most powerful civilizations in known space, began to retreat. But they had inadvertently revealed crucial information about their origins. The quantum signatures in their communications pointed to a hidden faction that had been manipulating interstellar conflicts for centuries. As the last enemy ships fled, the Haven's medical bays were filled with the wounded from all sides of the battle. Dr. Patil, treating a captured enemy soldier, noticed something in their genetic structure, evidence of extensive bioengineering that matched nothing in known space. They're not just trying to stop us from helping others, she reported to Captain Chen. They're afraid of what happens when different species work together. Our medical knowledge, combining insights from treating multiple species, is advancing faster than they can control. Chen looked out at the fleet of ships now protecting the Haven, human, Sunforge, and Veil vessels working in concert. Then they've already lost. Because today proved that the principle of helping all who need it, regardless of species or allegiance, is stronger than any weapon they can deploy. The price of compassion had been high. The Haven bore battle scars, and many had risked their lives. But they had shown the galaxy that humanity's commitment to healing was not merely an ideal, but a force that could unite former enemies and overcome those who would use suffering as a weapon. Shields of humanity. The UNHS Haven's medical bay cameras captured the moment that changed galactic history. A wounded enemy soldier, their bioengineered form revealed under emergency treatment, looked up at Dr. Patel and spoke words that confirmed their worst suspicions. "The directors will not allow this contamination to continue," the soldier whispered, their artificial biology failing despite the medical team's best efforts. Cross-species medical knowledge leads to cooperation. Cooperation leads to peace. Peace disrupts the natural flow of evolution. The soldier's last words were transmitted directly to an emergency session of the Earth Defense Council, where Admiral John Way stood before representatives from every human world and colony. The holographic chamber also showed delegates from the Sunforge Empire, Veil Collective, and the recently recovered Lumini. "The evidence is conclusive," Zhang announced, her uniform bearing the scars of recent battle. "The organization known as the Directors has been manipulating interstellar conflicts for centuries. Their attack on our medical vessels was not an isolated incident. It was part of a systematic campaign to prevent interspecies cooperation." Captain Chen, attending via secure quantum link from the Haven, added her report. "Analysis of their genetic structure and technology confirms they're an ancient species that has extensively modified themselves. They believe that conflict between species drives evolution, and they've appointed themselves as the guardians of this process." The implications were staggering. Every major interstellar war in recent history showed signs of the Director's influence. They had been stoking conflicts, preventing peaceful contact between species, and specifically targeting any institutions that promoted cooperation. Earth's response was unprecedented. For the first time in human space exploration, every colony world, every fleet, and every resource was united behind a single purpose. Operation Guardian Shield was initiated with a scope that demonstrated why humanity's military capability had been consistently underestimated. The Haven found itself at the center of this massive operation, but not as a target to be protected. Instead, it became the symbol of everything humanity was fighting for. As Earth's combat fleets mobilized, they carried with them a new type of weapon: the truth about the Director's manipulation. Dr. Patel, working with medical teams from multiple species, made another crucial discovery. "The Director's bioengineering has a fatal flaw," she reported to a joint military council. "Their obsession with controlled evolution has left them vulnerable to the very thing they fear most: medical knowledge shared between species." The Haven became the headquarters for an unprecedented medical research initiative. Teams from Earth, the Sunforge Empire, the Veil Collective, and the Lumini worked together, combining their understanding of biology, energy patterns, and crystalline life forms. What they created was not a weapon, but a defense, a way to neutralize the Director's biological advantages without causing harm. The Directors responded with full force. Their hidden fleets emerged across known space, targeting not just medical vessels, but any signs of interspecies cooperation. But humanity had prepared for this moment. Earth's response demonstrated why helping others and maintaining overwhelming military strength were not mutually exclusive principles. The newly commissioned Guardian Fleet, ships specifically designed to protect medical vessels, deployed across human space. Each Guardian vessel was a hybrid of military and medical technology, capable of both defending against attacks and providing emergency medical support. Captain Chen, commanding the Haven through multiple engagements, observed something remarkable. The very species that the Directors had kept at war were now fighting alongside humanity. Sunforge warships provided covering fire, while Veil vessels phased medical evacuees to safety. Lumini crystalline structures amplified communication and sensor networks. The Directors had not anticipated this level of cooperation. Their strategy had always relied on keeping species suspicious of each other, but the Haven and other human medical vessels had shown a different path. Every time they treated patients from multiple species, every time they risked themselves to save others, they created connections that the Directors couldn't break. In Medical Bay 1, during a lull in the fighting, Dr. Patel treated a young Sunforge engineer whose containment suit had been breached. Next to them, A Vale physicist recovered from phase disruption, while the Lumini child's crystalline matrix was being repaired. A captured director agent, brought in with severe injuries, watched in confusion. "Your effort is futile," the director stated. "Conflict is inevitable. Species must evolve through competition, not cooperation." The Sunforge engineer's response was immediate. "Look around you. I'm alive because Vale technology helped stabilize my plasma form. The Lumini crystal matrices improved human medical scanners. We're all stronger together than we ever were fighting each other." The battle for the galaxy's future played out on multiple fronts. While Earth's fleets engaged the director's ships, medical vessels like the Haven continued their mission of healing all who needed help, including captured directors. Every patient treated, every life saved, proved that cooperation between species wasn't just possible, it was essential for survival. Admiral Zhang's voice echoed through every ship in the combined fleet. The directors believed that promoting conflict was their destiny. Today, we show them humanity's destiny: to protect, to heal, and to unite. Not through conquest, but through compassion. Not through dominance, but through dedication to helping others. The Haven's shields flared as they held position near a contested system, Earth warships and allied vessels forming a protective barrier around the medical ship. Inside, the work continued unabated. Human doctors worked alongside aliens they would have once considered enemies, each contributing their unique knowledge to save lives. Captain Chen, watching the combined fleet operations, reflected on how far they'd come. "The directors wanted to keep us fighting each other," she commented to her bridge crew. "Instead, they gave us something to fight for together." The battle was far from over, but something fundamental had changed in the galaxy. The directors had spent centuries ensuring that different species remained in conflict, but they had never encountered a species like humanity, one that could demonstrate both the strength to fight and the wisdom to heal, the power to defend, and the compassion to help even their enemies. As the Haven moved to rescue another group of wounded, protected by the combined might of multiple species warships, it was clear that the director's greatest fear had been realized. Cross-species cooperation wasn't just possible, it was inevitable. And it had started with a simple human principle, that those who heal must be protected, and that saving lives knows no borders. Beyond borders. The final confrontation with the directors began not with a battle, but with a choice. The UNHS Haven received a transmission from deep within director-controlled space, a distress call from one of their own worlds. Their rigid control over evolution had backfired, creating a pandemic that their isolated medical knowledge couldn't contain. Captain Chen stood in the Haven's command center, surrounded by holographic displays showing the spread of the disease through director space. Dr. Patel's analysis confirmed what they suspected. The director's extensive bioengineering had made them uniquely vulnerable to their own creation. Their genetic modifications are turning against them, Patel explained to the assembled representatives from Earth, Sunforge, Vale, and Lumini forces. Their bodies are rejecting the controlled evolution they forced upon themselves. Without immediate medical intervention, their entire species faces extinction. The choice before them was clear. They could let the directors fall victim to their own ideology of survival through conflict, or they could demonstrate the very principles the directors had fought so hard against by offering help to an enemy. Chen's decision was immediate. "Prepare all medical bays. We're going in." Admiral Zhang's hologram flickered with concern. "The directors still have substantial military forces. This could be a trap." "Then we go in prepared," Chen replied. "But we go in because that's who we are. That's what Earth stands for." The response from Earth Command came quickly. The entire Guardian fleet would escort the Haven and other hospital ships into director space. The Sunforge Empire committed their fastest vessels as screening forces. The Vale Collective offered phase cloaking technology to protect the medical ships. The Lumini provided their crystalline matrices to enhance shield systems. As the combined fleet prepared to depart, Dr. Patel made a discovery that changed everything. "The director's pandemic isn't just a disease," she reported. It's their controlled evolution reaching its logical conclusion. They modify themselves to be the perfect warriors, but in doing so, they removed everything that makes cooperation possible. Their bodies are literally rejecting the concept of coexistence. The Haven led the fleet into director space, their shields enhanced by Lumini crystals, their sensors augmented by Veil technology, their engines boosted by Sunforge plasma mechanics. They found the director's worlds in chaos. The species that had manipulated galactic evolution for centuries was facing the consequences of their own ideology. The first director patients arrived in the Haven's medical bays in critical condition. Their bodies were marvels of bioengineering, but they had been designed to fight, not to heal. Dr. Patel and her combined species medical team faced their greatest challenge, saving those who had dedicated themselves to preventing exactly this kind of cooperation. Why? A director administrator asked as human doctors worked alongside alien specialists to save their people. Why help us after all we've done? Chen, who had come down to the medical bay, answered, because that's the fundamental difference between us. You believe strength comes from conflict. We know it comes from helping others. The treatment of the directors became a testament to everything humanity had been fighting for. Human medical knowledge combined with Sunforge energy manipulation, Veil phase shifting techniques, and Lumini crystalline healing technologies. The cure for the director's pandemic couldn't have been developed by any one species alone. It required the very cooperation they had tried to prevent. As the treatment progressed, something unexpected happened. The directors, experiencing firsthand the benefits of interspecies medical cooperation, began to change, not just physically, as their bodies were healed, but fundamentally in their understanding of evolution and progress. A director scientist, recovering in Medical Bay 3, shared a revelation with Dr. Patel. We thought we were guiding evolution by promoting conflict, but look at what you've achieved through cooperation. Your medical knowledge advances faster. Your technologies combine in ways we never imagined. Your strength grows not through fighting, but through helping each other. The Haven's mission expanded. More hospital ships arrived, protected by the combined fleet, bringing medical aid to all director worlds. The species that had orchestrated countless wars found themselves experiencing something entirely new, being helped by those they had considered enemies. In a formal ceremony aboard the Haven, representatives from Earth, the Sunforge Empire, the Veil Collective, the Lumini, and now the directors, signed the Galactic Medical Accord. The agreement established principles that would reshape space exploration. Medical neutrality would be universally protected, hospital ships would be considered inviolate, and medical knowledge would be freely shared between species. Captain Chen, watching as former enemies worked together in her medical bays, reflected on how far they'd come. The directors thought they were testing us by attacking our hospital ships. Instead, they gave us the opportunity to prove why our way works. Dr. Patel, treating patients alongside a team that now included a director medical specialist, added her own observation. They spent centuries promoting the idea that different species couldn't coexist. Now they're learning what we've known all along, that healing knows no borders. The Haven's legacy extended far beyond a single ship or even a single species. It became a symbol of a new way forward, proof that the strongest shields weren't made of energy or metal, but of the connections formed when different species came together to help others. As the Haven prepared to depart director space, its medical bays still full of patients from multiple species, Captain Chen received a message from Earth Command. The ship's example had inspired something new. All across known space, species that had once been enemies were establishing joint medical facilities. The Guardian fleets would remain, protecting these centers of healing and cooperation, but their mission had evolved. They weren't just defending against attacks. They were protecting the principle that had brought former enemies together. What happens now? A recovering director asked Chen as they watched a mixed group of medical students, human, Sunforge, Veil, Lumini, and director, training together in Medical Bay 1. Chen smiled. Now we do what humanity has always done. We explore, we learn, we help those in need. But we do it together, across all borders, beyond all boundaries. Because that's what healing really means. The Haven's engines hummed as the ship prepared to return to its patrol route. In its medical bays, doctors from 5 different species treated patients from a dozen more. Outside, a combined fleet stood guard, not against enemies, but for the principle of helping all who needed aid. They had proved that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in its ability to fight, but in its commitment to heal, to help, and to bring others together. The directors had tried to prove that conflict was inevitable. Instead, they had helped demonstrate why humanity's approach, combining compassion with strength, healing with protection, was the true path forward. The borders between species remained, but they had become bridges rather than barriers, crossed every day by those dedicated to helping others, protected by those who understood that true strength lies in standing together.